There are stories that make you stop and ask yourself, what would happen if I didn't give up? Walt Disney's story is exactly one of those stories. Today, the entire world knows Disney as an empire. Animated films, theme parks, legendary characters, and the childhood of billions of people. But before Mickey, before Snow White, before Disney became Disney, Walt was once a failure, underestimated, and told directly to his face that he lacked creativity. Because Walt Disney grew up in a poor family in Missouri. His father was strict, sometimes cold, and never believed that his son had a future in art. From a young age, Walt loved to draw, but in an environment where even food was uncertain, art was not an acceptable choice. But Walt kept drawing on scrap paper, drawing on the ground, drawing anywhere he could. When he grew older, Walt applied to work at a newspaper, but not long after he was fired for the reason, "You don't have imagination, you lack creativity." A man who would later create the Disney universe was once told he lacked creativity. Sounds unbelievable, right? But it's true. After that blow, Walt still didn't give up on art. He founded his first animation company, Graham Films, but then the company went bankrupt. Walt had no money, no income, no future. There were days he slept inside the office. There were times he starved because he couldn't afford food. There were moments where anyone else would have abandoned their dream instantly. But Walt did not give up. He borrowed the last bit of money he had and bought a train ticket to Hollywood, hoping to create something bigger. And it was there that everything began. Walt created his first popular animated character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. But when the character became famous, the distribution company stole the copyright, took his best animators, and left Walt with nothing once again. Walt returned to zero in Hollywood. No friends, no copyright, no team. But this failure was the greatest gift fate ever gave him. Because on the train ride back from that disastrous meeting, Walt Disney, in his deepest despair, sketched a character that would later become an icon of the entire world. A small mouse named Mickey. No one believed Mickey would succeed, a mouse. Who would watch a movie about a mouse? But Walt believed, and he was right. Mickey Mouse became a phenomenon. The world fell in love with him. And from Mickey, Walt had the foundation to build Disney Studios, but his journey didn't stop there. When Walt announced he wanted to make the first full-length animated feature, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, critics called it Disney's folly. They said, "No one can watch a 90-minute animated movie. People's eyes will hurt from too much animation. You're destroying your own company." But when Snow White premiered, it became the biggest explosion Hollywood had ever seen. A miracle, a success beyond anyone's expectations. From a man fired for lack of creativity, Walt Disney became the greatest creative mind of the 20th century. And Walt didn't just create animated films, he created a world. A place where children and adults could forget reality for a moment and believe in magic. And when Walt decided to build Disneyland, people laughed at him again. "You want to build a park for both adults and children? You're crazy. No one needs that idea." But on the opening day of Disneyland, hundreds of thousands of people lined up to get in. And today, Disneyland and Disney World are the most beloved destinations in the world. Walt Disney once said, "If you can dream it, you can do it." And he lived that sentence to its fullest. What does Walt's story teach us? That the ridicule you hear today does not define your worth. That true talent does not disappear simply because others fail to see it. That sometimes failure is the path leading you to something far greater. And that a man once fired for lack of creativity can absolutely create an entire world called Disney.